Hello, welcome to the Briarwood Imagiporium. I'm Dawn Marie, and this is where I make pretty much whatever I want to, and then I share it with you. And this last weekend, it was paper dolls. And if I had any video editing skills, I would have just done some fabulous little stop motion thing where she just flies across without me holding her. So imagine that. And I'm going to flip the camera down and show you some other examples besides the one that I make on this video. As far as I can remember, this is the very first one of these that I made. And it all started with a gingerbread cookie house that looked like a skirt, and having done a project in a healing arts journaling class where the instructor had us make a paper doll that was very much in a female form with a magazine cutout face that we had put gesso on, and then redid the features. And the only thing this has in common with that really is the use of brads to make things mobile. I saw this, I had that in mind, and I just started cutting and pasting as one does, or as I do. So that was the first one, and then I played around with it at various times. Sometimes for healing arts classes, sometimes business classes, where it's like, make a little collage of this, make a little collage of that. Oftentimes my collages turn into paper dolls, or put yourself in the picture is often an instruction that you get when a mentor or teacher has you make a collage about something to do with their class. And so oftentimes I put myself in the picture by creating a paper doll and then creating a pocket in my journal on that page for the doll to live in. So different ones created in different classes for different reasons, and many of them created like this one just because I felt like having a new doll to go in a new journal, because I was doing a new adventure at the time or some such thing. I don't remember exactly, but it was something like that. Every once in a while, my face actually does end up on a piece that I make. And so this was literally a put yourself in the picture in a business mentorship class. So that was that. I take my business very seriously, obviously. So all kinds of different ways they can be made. The materials are basically magazine or catalog images. You might use stamped images. In this case, these were actual clock hands that I had, that I threw them on the scanner and then created a whole sheet of clock hands that I could print out. I've taught this class many times, and those just come in handy as arms. And that element of time in a art journaling, visual journaling, introspective kind of a course, time is an interesting element to give some thought to. You can use some dimensional pieces. This has a fragment of a face made in a Maureen Carlson face mold using paper clay. So that's a thing that can be done. Fair warning, it can make your neck very floppy. This piece lives on a bulletin board in my studio, just hangs out looking beautiful. And so she's pretty safe there, but doesn't travel well to classes that I teach off-site as an example piece. You can also go dimensional with your paper, as you can possibly see here. Yeah, that little banner has been attached with grommets, just for the fun of it. Could have been glued. This piece has a little polymer clay charm that I had made for a different project. I needed something that talked about fire in the belly, so that was just an obvious choice. None of those additions are necessary, but you can stick them on, fabric bits, random things, whatever. But for today, I'm sticking with paper dolls. And hopefully I can do this quickly. I don't want to make this drag on too long on the intro. I want to get to some making. But I do want to point out, think outside the box. As you'll notice, very few of these have actual people parts. This one has some legs, my face. This has an upper body. The actual face is hidden behind the bird head. So there's that. Skirts could be anything from cookies. This is the bodice of a shirt, clay plate, tassel. Not even anything that looks anything like a skirt, just a picture that went with the rest of the composition, cut in that shape, and it was very random. Heads can be all sorts of things. That's just a piece from scrapbooking paper, one of the little die cuts that comes at the edge of a certain piece of scrapbooking paper. This, it was just what was already in the photo, the top of the vase. Signals catalog pieces, your own photo. This one is a sticker that a non-alcoholic beer company includes in their shipments, and darned if I can remember. It's something like Savage or Wild, or I can't think of it, but anyway, I borrowed their sticker logo to, you know, they send you stickers to play with. They got to expect you're going to do weird things with them. I don't think they disapprove. So when you're looking for your images, you're not necessarily looking for the thing. That's an upside down teapot for her body. You know, there's for bodices, I've got a cookie, I've got an upside down ceramic or porcelain vase, there's an artist made vase, let's see, arms and legs. I mean, anything can be arms and legs, although sometimes it's fun to use pictures of shoes for feet. So you get the idea. Let's gather up some supplies and get making. What you're going to want, some magazine images, some cardstock or a manila folder, some scissors. I use Eileen's tacky glue for this project. It's a perfectly fine paper glue. Not a lot of wrinkling issues with this because you're gluing onto a heavier weight paper. They seem to all glue down pretty smooth. I do have my plate with a slightly damp terry cloth rag and a gift card type card, plastic, for glue spreading. And that's really about all you need. The other thing you will want is a pokey tool. You can use a very fine hole punch. You probably don't really need it. I do own one, but it's just out of reach, and I'm not going to bother to try to grab it at the moment. And you will want, I almost forgot to have the most important thing at hand. Well, I did forget to have it, but I keep them very close by. You'll want some mini brads, and they do come in a lot of colors. These are just slightly longer. Fairly easy to find in brass. I did notice the last time I went looking for them, they were a little harder to find in the craft stores, so you may have to purchase them online. You can glue your dolls together without the joints, but I really think the joints kind of make the doll. The other thing to note is that if you don't have brads in quite the color you want, a lot of times you can take a Sharpie marker to the head of silver toned brads or light colored brads. You can take a Sharpie marker and recolor them to whatever color you want. So there's that. Brads, a pokey tool. And when I say a pokey tool, it could just be a darning needle. You know, as long as it's got enough of a point to go through paper, you're golden. This is a cheapie from the dollar store. Or again, you can use a hole punch if you have the tiny one. Okay, so to get started, I recommend go through several magazines and pull images. Now, I do keep a box of fussy cut or ready to be fussy cut images. And so I went through this last night and pulled out a few things. And then I also have trays of magazine images that I've pulled just because they appeal to me. So I'm kind of prepped on that. If you're not, that's fine. One magazine will yield plenty of images. You'll find things. And so, do you start with the head? Do you start with the body? You start with whatever appeals to you and see what comes of it. You know, I've got a woman's face, I've got a dog head. This wouldn't immediately come to mind, but I'll show you in a minute why I picked up that. Here's a situation where this could be two really interesting arms or two very chunky legs. One. So I put together a couple of ideas that came up. I had this, which pottery makes great bodies. In this case, it's kind of not exactly body shape, but there's that, and I could put this wolf head on it somewhere in there. And it might be weird proportions with a strangely long neck, and I've got shoulders way down here. But it's a possibility. It's just something that caught my eye. This is image off the back of a calendar. You know how those, like any calendar comes with it. This was a wildlife calendar. And so you have all those big, beautiful pictures you can use in other kinds of paper arts projects. But on the back, they have the small images. And those are a perfect size for lots of things. In this case, possible doll heads. Urns. It's amazing how many times silver urns show up in decorating magazines. I had this, and I saw this as, ooh, what if they had wings? So I've got this odd fox head. I think that's a paperweight. So I'm seeing this here. I would cut these apart and spread them out a little bit so he's not like being chewed in the neck by angry swans. But if you put them out a bit, then he's got swan shoulders or something. I'm trying to put my arms up here and show you on my shoulders. Like that makes any sense. So that was a possibility. You know, this one, talk about looking for weird things. Does that Christmas tree not look like a ball gown? I think it looks like a ball gown. You could totally just like put a head on this and some arms, and there you go. Let's see. Bulldog in a ball gown? Not quite. Where'd that lovely golden retriever go? Oh, right there. And sometimes, you know, I'm auditioning and I don't want to quite cut them because if I don't use them for this, I might want that for something else. As if it's so precious, I'll never find another. I can see turning this into a golden retriever in a ball gown. That could be. I think for today, I probably won't. I think what I'm going to work with today, I'm not sure what I want for the head on this. And maybe, I pulled this out after the fact. Maybe I'll even just do a lovely lady head, although that might be too obvious. But there was this dragonfly necklace, and I thought maybe cut it apart so the wings can go further out. Maybe it's the lady head. Maybe. There was also, if I wanted to be really strange, as if I'm not already, there was the possibility of this phrenology thing. There's that. There's that. I tend to want to be edgy, and then in the end, I always end up just pretty for the most part. I don't have a lot of edginess in me. Oh, it could have legs like that. That could be a thing. Or this is where this caught my eye, mostly because the colors coordinated with what was going on in the wings there. Your colors don't have to coordinate in any way, shape, or form. Just is what caught my eye. And I thought maybe some part of this, I mean, the whole thing could be a rather magnificent skirt, but then I end up with a very tall doll. And so maybe coming down into here and just having that, and these are legs, and it becomes very fairy-like, in which case I'm not going to use the phrenology head. I'm not sure what head I'm going to use. Let's get started, and I may pause the camera at some point and go looking for something else. So, I don't know if it helps. I think it helps to share my thought process. I know it makes for longer videos. I hope it's helpful to have that information. I'm going to go ahead and glue these to my paper. And in this case, I'm pretty sure I am just using this segment. So I'm going to cut off anything with these hands in it. And I might try actually to save those hands, because sometimes in collages it's nice to have hands doing things. So yes, is it garbage? Am I going to hold on to it? You betcha, it's going back in the stash. I have some trays. They're not allowed to overflow. There is some constraint here. Not much. A little bit. Okay, and I'm using a piece of parchment paper. Any piece of scrap paper will do. This is just so that when I'm spreading glue, it's not getting all over my work surface, because I like to be able to spread it right out off the edges. And when you're working with tacky glue, it's super helpful to either have it face down in a jar, or if you've got to set it on the table, leave it on its side so that you're not having to do this all the time. Saves you a little bit of annoyance. And then I just use my handy dandy gift card glue spreader. Now I've spread glue out off the edges of this. I don't want this piece to slide around and get glue on the front of it. And I've just pressed it down. If you happen to own a brayer, roller, the brayer is different. Anyway, if you happen to own a roller, you can do that. You can also use this is the gluey edge, the non-gluey edge of your gift card, and really press them down that way if you need to. Honestly, the finger pressing I just did was enough. So I've got that down. I'm going to go ahead and go off camera, glue this down, and look for a face. And then I'll be back. Okay, so I've got all my pieces glued down. I did go for an actual woman's head. I found a slightly different one than the one I had pulled out earlier. So there was that. I found some ferns that I think might make arms, because I think she needs both wings and arms. And then I also glued these down in case I wanted very fancy arms. I kind of think that's going to be too bulky, but they would make magnificent sleeves. So I glued them down just in case. So I'm going to cut these out, and then we'll start assembling. Okay, so I've got them all cut out, or as cut out as I needed to be. Now, one of the things that you'll probably notice is that there is some curving going on. And you can do a couple things. You can certainly put them in a book overnight. I don't have that kind of patience, so you'll see I'm just kind of stroking them. And there's still, this is feeling pretty dry. It doesn't have that coolness that it would have if it was still really wet. but there's still a little bit of moisture in there. And you can do this later in the game, but if you do it right now while they're freshly glued, you can get everything pretty flat. Now, one thing that I did is always for a head, don't cut it off right at the head. Cut it with something down below that you can use as a tab, because you need an attachment point if your head's going to be mobile. Let me see if I can find one here. You know, in this case with the sheep, it was only the head, and so I actually glued a little bit of an extra piece on in the back in order to make an attachment point that came down behind the shoulders. Okay, so back to this. Anyway, leave enough. Now I've left too much, and you know that's showing. So I'll trim that down to just kind of a straight thing. Let's see, here's her headscarf, come down off of her neck. And I'll try to make that kind of a tidy shape in case I decide later that, you know, you can journal on the back of these, or if you're doing it as like something to give to somebody, you might want to put a sentiment back there. So that gives me enough of that. I wouldn't have minded having a little bit more shoulder in there, but we're just going to stop at this and let that be. I could have left a little of that, but then when it moves, I don't know. I'm good with that. Okay, and then there's the wings, and I may put the wings up high anyway. I'm going to cut those apart. I left it on just in case I decided that, gosh, I wasn't using it as wings, but I am, so I don't need the dragonfly body in there. I can cut that apart. And again, just in case it matters how it looks on the back, I'm going to cut off the extra bits. So I've got some wings. I might have wanted to leave those extra bits so that I had attachment points in case I wanted my wings to flutter. What was I thinking? That's okay. I've got some arms. I did audition these as arms. And while I like them with her, I love, you know, the Renaissance look of that. And then this. It's like I could see those as arms, but I'm going to save them. I will do them. I can also see them as fabulous legs on some really quirky, almost James Christensen inspired characters. If you don't know who the artist James Christensen was, if you love whimsical quirkiness, go look him up. He was really a rather magical soul. And then I haven't quite decided how I want that to come up. If she just has a flowy skirt from there, I think I'll trim a little bit into this and just okay. We got parts. We just need to assemble parts. So I need to pick some threads. And I suspect I'm going to use these wonderful little glittery ones, but I'll look just in case. Okay, so now I have to decide about some attachments. I don't think I need that much neck now. Go ahead and trim that even shorter. That's going to give me plenty there. So I'm definitely attaching her right there. I keep wanting to put that green bit up, but it's really not working. I wonder if, see, this is where I go off script. This is why my videos are long. Dawn Marie, can you ever just leave things as they are and be happy? No, I have this idea I need to see. I don't think I'm going to want to do it, but I have to check. Yeah, no, don't want to do it. But I needed to see if I wanted some more shoulder to her, because I could give her some shoulder and put her arms up here. And I almost like it, but not quite. Almost. I'm really tempted to go back to the picture I cut this out of and cut some more of it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop. I'm going to be satisfied. I'm going to put her arms down here. And then there's the question, do you want them in behind or in front? Let's see. She's looking this way. So I think this arm, even though it's kind of in back, is in front. Front, back, front. These are silly things that in the grand scheme of things make no difference, most likely. This is just artistic preference. Does it look better? Yeah, see, to me this looks better because of the way she's looking, like she's kind of turning her body in towards you, and this arm is behind, this is, yeah, okay? It just sometimes has to be. So, alrighty. I'm going to see if I have, oh, looky here. I have a little scrap of fake leather upholstery. Not something I've ever used before for this, but it's perfect. Just a little something soft behind where you're poking is helpful. And I don't want to be too close to the edge of this vase, but I don't want to be too far in and look too weird. It'll make her arms too short. So poke a hole right there. Pick it up and poke through a little bit better. So I'll get this in here. Now wait, where was I going? This one's supposed to be front. I could have done that one on green. I did it on silver thinking it was going to be on the white. So I could have done that one on green so it didn't show. Or with green, on green, with green, so it doesn't show. So to split. It actually blends in better than the silver one on white, so we're just going to go with it. I could also, if I wanted, take the Sharpie, like I said, and color that in. Now, I need to make a decision about her wings. They don't go, I'm not going to put them on the same brad there, but then I'd have to put them on the same brad at her mat. Because I don't want to get too many stuck through here. I want them lower. No, I don't want them lower. Do I want them? Maybe I do want them on the same brad as the arms. And so then, having folded those out flat, I've got to pinch them back together. Yay, they went all the way together. Don't always do that. Sometimes when you pinch them back together, it's hard to get up close. Okay, that makes me happy. Okay, we have wings, we have arms. Almost feels like bad voodoo punching through somebody's throat there. We're installing a gem in your throat, my darling. Okay, and speaking of gems, in this case, I have these pretty little glittered ones. And since blue shows up elsewhere, I thought it might be pretty to get her a little blue jewel right at her voice box, whatever that might signify. Okay, moving right along. Last bit. Just gotta put this on. And we'll just do a little green glittery one down here at her belly button as well. Do fairies have belly buttons? There's a question. Are they born in mammalian fashion, or do they materialize, or what? There's a question to ponder for the day. I hope you have more interesting things to ponder, honestly. Okay. But sometimes these glittered ones are glittered right together. There we go. All right. She seems like she needs a little bit more. Like she's kind of cool. What does she need? Like her wings did need to be bigger. But that's the quirkiness with these. You just don't always get that. Either her wings need to be bigger or her head needs to be something different. Did she just need a thistle head? That would be too small. Does she wear a crown of thistles in her hair? That might be pretty. Okay. See? And now we go off script. Not that I actually write a script for these. I'm sorry. For those who really like short, succinct videos, I will probably never be your girl. Does that help some? It really does, doesn't it? Do I need to take that flower out or leave it in? I think it needs to stay in. Maybe this one needs to come up behind even. Oh yeah, okay. So I'm gonna glue these. Glue that down separate, glue that down. I think it's all gonna get glued to her head. So I'm gonna take her head back off. Decide what I need to do. Oh, I left it sitting point up. And this is why we put our glue bottle upside down in a jar, or at least leave it on its side. Upside down in the jar. There we go. That. Okay, now I don't know how I envision that. Huh. Okay. Now I am going to cut off that bit that was her headscarf that's showing out the bottom, since she's now wearing flowers. All right, so I will re-poke that hole since she's now got an even thicker neck, which can only be good. her nice and strong. It's down here. What's that? It just doesn't quite want to go through. Trying to get those glittered prongs back together. This is nice and open. Shouldn't be an issue. I'm also not wearing my closest up cheaters. Oh, boogers. All right, so a quick change of glasses. Oh, that helps. Everything is suddenly so much clearer. Okay, get her hair. Just like me, her hair is going to tangle into her wings, or in my case, you know, to my arms, my shoulders, whatever. But yay, I like that now. Okay, you know, she's quirky and pretty. I'm quite pleased. Let's pull some things out of the background and just do a clear shot on that. So there she is, my friends. Got a lovely little fairy type creature. And of course there's all different ones that could be made. I think I will sit here and play with a few more, and we'll see what else I make. I don't know why I think that this needs to be on here, because it doesn't really have anything to do with anything else specifically except for color, but somehow I just like it there, so I'm putting it there. And let's give her a little crown. Let's get the glue where I'm pretty sure it's going to touch her head. Okay, so here's where we ended up, and they're just fun, they're silly, they can be deeply meaningful if you're doing them in an intentional healing arts kind of a manner, or they can just be whatever they turn out to be. So go make some magic, have a great day. I'll catch you again in another video soon. Oops, I'm back. She needed something in her hands. So, now she has a friend, a little bluebird of happiness. A little bird can tell her whatever, secrets. Just wanted to show you that. Now go make some magic.